Thank you very much, Christian Leumann. And I would like to share a few thoughts with you from my side on the conference and start with this slide. And I think it shows the passion that we could have for land, that we all share, the passion to produce knowledge about land use changes and perhaps sustainable use of land. And we may have all different entry points. Some of us may look at land because it's key to livelihoods of 2 billion people around the world and the work they have. Some of us may look at it because it's the food basis for the entire population of the globe, and with many huge challenges. Some of us know that land rights are key about the social status of people, about culture and preserving traditions. Some of us know that the carbon in the land will be decisive about reaching the climate goals. And we also know how we use the land will decide on millions of species about their survival or extinction. So many topics bring us together, but I think we all share in common that land is somehow the key bridge between human and the environment, or between nature and people. And I think this is even the more true if we look at the current challenges this planet is seeing. And being involved in this exercise, the Agenda 2030, which is perhaps the most ambitious project that currently the global community is pursuing, we can say also there land plays a key role. But the picture is very sobering. The current status shows us that a few of these targets of the SDGs are on track. Many are off track, such as, hunger is rising again. But even worse, many are actually on backtrack. Inequality is rising, CO2 emissions are rising after the recovery from the environmental crisis, biodiversity is declining rapidly. So there is an enormous alarm bell we have to ring, and we all know business as usual is not enough. We have to scale up changes towards transformations towards sustainable development. But we are all aware, and we are system thinkers, that running after targets is not a strategy. We have to think in interlinkages, and within the International Project Office, we have worked a lot on these possible interlinkages between any two of these SDGs, and thinking of the trade-offs that exist, or perhaps the co-benefits that we could harness. And we have done a small survey with 58 land policy institutions from 25 countries and asked, what are actually your questions about land? Where are your unknowns about land? And you see here in blue shades their priorities of issues they need knowledge for further policy. So you see, for example, the interactions between poverty and cities, or poverty and climate change, many issues that they rated highest. And we also took a sample of research publications, the most highly cited GLP publication since 2015, so only 350, and tried to map it on that. And you can see we have a lot of knowledge, of course, focusing on our preferred topics as interactions between food, environment, climate, and so on. And in green you see that we talk about possible synergies and co-benefits, but we also identify in red trade-offs. But besides this match, we also have mismatches. You see questions that go somehow unanswered, at least in this sample, but we also produce answers to questions somebody doesn't seem to ask. I don't want to go in depth. This paper can be read in the new special issue, but the conclusion for me is, if we do efforts to bring together science and policy, I think we have a lot of knowledge to think about those transformations to sustainable development. Of course, challenges remain, and let me just highlight two you all are perfectly aware of. This image from the foot slopes of Mount Kenya from the left to the right shows us, forests and protected areas on the foot slopes, then moving into small-scale agriculture and subsistence agriculture. We see large-scale agriculture. We see horticultural for business and flowers that are exported across the world. And finally, pastoralist areas and protected areas again. these different claims compete for land increasingly with increasing demands. And furthermore, we live in a world which is increasingly globalized and hyper-connected, and you see those flows of people, of goods, of information and investments. They are on the rise, and the world has never been as connected as it is today. So these competing claims, they reach across the globe. And given the urgency of doing something in every silo, I think the risk of conflicts, of human rights violations will increase. And it's been interesting that even the Secretary General of the United Nations recently emitted a note that the conflicts about land should be taken seriously, and we have to address that in the next time. But of course, knowledge is not the only ingredient, and I think it's important to understand that development is also about politics. And we have to understand probably the vested interests which try to prohibit the change, to prevent the world from changing. So knowledge is not in a value-free space. And we have to learn how to deal with these normative dimensions. And I'm also happy that we have a recent paper by members of our scientific steering committee to work towards a normative land system science and give us the capacity to handle these challenges. And that brings together, I think, this is sustainability science that is systemic, but it's also handling the normative issues of sustainable development. Good, I have two points more left. And we said, okay, science is a precondition for change, for transformation, especially sustainability science. And with this graph of R&D expenditures across the world, I think the picture is also quite sobering. We see most of the research questions are motivated by business enterprises. And the global funding for research, within that, I think, interdisciplinarity, transdisciplinary approaches, sustainability science still play a minor role. So let's not fool ourselves. We are still a minority, and there is very little funding for this type of research we are trying to do, and we have to promote it. And the second point here I would like to make, and you see that in the shadows, many low-income countries don't have access neither to the scientific products and knowledge, nor to the capacities to develop their own knowledge, to develop their own trajectories and pathways towards sustainability. I think this is extremely alarming if we want to achieve universally sustainable development. And I think it should be our task as a global program to support these countries through partnerships, channel knowledge where it is often most needed and most urgently needed to find solutions. Let's look around us. Other initiatives are there. Future Earth. Let's team up and make alliances. Other people, other communities will also join our conference, and there will be dedicated sessions to work together. So this is our opportunity, our open science meeting, and it has the tagline, Transforming Land Systems for People and Nature. And we said we really want to address 3 questions. The first is about systems thinking. What are the visions of the planetary land systems? Land as the nexus for addressing global challenges. What do we see as researchers? Second, let's look at those claims and those normative dimensions, and we ask, what do people want from land? How can we navigate the inherent trade-offs? And how can we foster synergies in land systems? And finally, it's not about understanding, but it's also going to action, and we need transformative knowledge. So how do we support transformations? What are the new frontiers in studying and governing land systems? On the badge that you all have, and on the side, you will see this overall program of the 3 days. You'll see that during these 3 days, we have a lot of opportunities for exchange. On the one hand, in the plenaries, as we have today, normally in the morning sessions. Then we move into parallel sessions, some of them being the more research sessions, but some of them being really interactive sessions. So please use the space for discussion, for debate with people you have not met before. And then, in the evening, today, we have very importantly a poster session which you're all invited to come to. And in the other evening, we have other informal possibilities of exchange, be it the open science meeting, dinner, or be it the different breaks. I really look forward to exchange with you all, and I think it will be a moment for inspiration. Very personally, I'm very happy to have that here, and I look really forward to these 3 days together.